Excellent. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along to this show and tell for where we currently are with Reported Problem, introducing FixMyStreet into Hackney. So for folks who haven't been to one of these before, briefly, the overall vision for the Reported Problem service is to create a simple method by which citizens can report a variety of issues online. So this is things like graffiti and potholes and abandoned vehicles and all those kind of things that we currently have a lot of separate e-forms for, or people call into the contact center. We are introducing FixMyStreet, which is a really nice third-party product produced by MySociety that allows people to report those either directly online or to call up to our contact center, and then our contact center staff will use the same tool to raise those issues, which are then passed out to our individual service areas to deal with. The overall goals: much better experience in terms of how they interact with us for reporting issues, reducing calls to the contact center by having a good user journey online, and to enable new types of reporting, such as getting into noise and antisocial behavior, which I'll talk about later on. So this is actually the 6th show and tell, because I haven't updated this slide. If people are interested and want to go back to what happened at the beginning and why we decided on this particular product, we've been recording these all the way through, and you can go and look at one of the earlier ones to find out why we picked FixMyStreet. So today I'm going to go through some of the good things that are going on, some of our current issues, what's coming happening soon, do an extremely short demo, and then take questions at the end. So good stuff. So we are speaking to lots of different service areas. That's the whole list of people we're talking to at the moment. I've got some help from Emma, who's doing a cracking job talking to a variety of teams, mostly in housing. And then Louise is talking to a lot of people in public realm, because she knows that area really well. So these are all the conversations that we've got going on in parallel. As you can imagine, there's a lot of work, a lot of stakeholder management, bringing all these folks along with us, but so far it's going mostly okay. What we've done is we've created a set of agreement documents, one for each service area, that says where we're going to send the information to, what categories they're going to support, whether there needs to be extra mandatory data that's collected or specific information that needs to be supplied to people when they are entering an issue. So an example of that, the folks that are responsible for tree pruning are very keen for us to have a non-mandatory tick box that says, I have read the council's tree pruning information before they go and tick it, so it might cut down the number of issues. So we're going to, as long as it's non-mandatory, we're going to put that in for them. And so we're collecting all that information in these documents for each of the service areas. Louise has just produced, came out today, half a dozen 5-minute long training videos for the service areas to be able to see how to use the tool. So that covers everything from how to raise an issue if you are a user, just so they understand what it's like from the other side, and then to how you deal with issues that come into your inbox, how you redirect things to other parts of the council if it's been sent to the wrong place, and all that kind of thing. We're going to send those out to all of the service areas so that they're capable of being up to speed before they start receiving these issues. We're also going to put together a short list of things that we would like them to feel comfortable with before we switch it on, which is going to be 5 or 6 things, like the kind of things I mentioned before. And we want them to tick off that their staff feel comfortable doing those things, so that we know they're prepared for when we start to do the go live. So we should be sending that out Monday. So at the same time, I'm also working closely with the folks in the contact center. They're doing quite a lot of testing on the product at the moment. They've produced a small number of actual bug reports, which we've taken through to MySociety. And as you see here, we've already had a bunch of stuff that's been fixed and turned around very quickly. They're mostly really small cosmetic issues, but their turnaround time has been normally a day. And so we're rattling through those. We don't think we're going to come across any showstoppers at this point. There's nothing that's been raised like that. We do have a couple of issues that we know about, one of which is related to private roads and private estates. So there are some parts of the council where if you live in a particular road, you get some services but not others because of the status of that road or area. So MySociety has done that before, and is capable of supporting that in FixMyStreet. But we've agreed that we're not going to be able to get that in place before they go live, but they're happy to pick it up as a thing they're going to do after we've done the initial soft deployment. So there's even more things going on in relation to MySociety. So location-based routing, which is a thing that says that we're going to send emails to different teams in the council for the same issue, depending whereabouts it is. So whether, for example, it is or isn't on a tenant resident estate. So that is a piece of bespoke work which they've completed for us, which now can be used by the councils. There's a piece of work to make sure that emails come from the Hackney domain rather than the FixMyStreet domain, and that work's going to be starting on Monday. That's a day and a half's odd of work. There's the whole piece around implementing a way of collecting noise nuisance information better. We've had 2 rounds of prototyping from that, and we've sent the last round of feedback to MySociety last week, and I'm talking to them about whether they're going to be a 3rd round of mock-up prototyping, or if it's time to actually get something in FixMyStreet for us to have a play with. Similarly, we've agreed to do a short discovery in relation to antisocial behaviour, which we've got the PO for, so they're going to be kicking that off and when they can fit in with their timescales. And then lastly, there's a really interesting piece about introducing use of GovUK Notify for sending text messages instead of emails for the various automated notifications that come from FixMyStreet. And we've agreed again that we're going to be paying them for a discovery. Well, probably we're going to go through the quote with a fine-tooth comb and make sure it's all okay, and do that next week. Even more things. So we're working with the council web team. So I had a really good meeting with in Sharp this week about what we're going to be doing for creating the new FixMyStreet pages and removing the current user journeys. So that means rearranging the content for some of these service areas that's on the website, and also depreciating and deprecating, whichever it is, and removing the existing e-forms in favour of FixMyStreet, and then putting redirects in place in case people have bookmarked the old ones. And I'm meeting Helen Clark from the council communications team tomorrow to talk about how once we've had a week or so after the soft launch and everything's going okay, that we can start activating the comms plan so that we can inform more residents about FixMyStreet and have them start to use the product. So issues, we're getting a little pushback from some of the service areas. So every service area that we've spoken to has said that it's a great product, that they're keen to use it and they want it to be successful. What they're less keen on, some of them, is the timescale. So some of them are saying this is fine, but because of the pandemic and other reasons, we might not be able to work with you at our current go live date. We might want to work with you in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks after that. So we're having those conversations at the moment, and I'll talk to Matthew about those, and we'll see where we are in a day or two. We're also encountering some late issues with the implementation of Alloy, which is the system that's being used by highways, that's being introduced at the moment. So what we need to do is make sure that that's going to be fit for purpose for our go live, and Louise is getting into the nitty gritty of that as we speak. In terms of stuff that's coming up, so we need to complete going through the list of issues with the contact center. As I say, I don't think any of those are showstoppers. Excuse me. We finalise everything with the service areas and make sure that what we've agreed in those documents is exactly what's in FixMyStreet. Plan the comms, as I mentioned earlier, with Helen, and then I've got a meeting next week to finalise the handover to application support. And part of that is I really want to make sure that there is a regular post-launch continuous improvement meeting between Peter, who's going to be heading up looking after this from app support, and Matthew, and hopefully somebody from Liz's team looking at the analytics that are coming out of FixMyStreet to decide how continuous improvement can happen. And I want to make sure that that meeting's in place before I put the project down. So our go live is on the 6th of July. what that means is we'll be starting off with a subset of the contact center using the product. After a week or so, when we're happy that's the case, it'll get rolled out to the rest of the contact center. And then we'll start activating the comms plan and then pushing that out for more folks in the borough to start using it. There's been a bunch of stuff coming on the chat, so before I get to questions, let me just have a quick look at what people have been saying. So in terms of taking services out of the initial launch, my answer to that today is no, because I would like to have a robust conversation between those service area leaders and Matthew to find out what their issues are. Because I think that what they're saying at the moment is that they're really busy and that they just don't want to have one new thing to deal with. And I think we need to have a concrete discussion about whether that's a thing that we find acceptable. We'll have that conversation. And Sarai, you're going to have to tell me what you mean by kind of be included into what? Do you want to come off mute for a second?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the meeting was talking about with Liz and Matthew of the service board. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so super quick demo. The only thing I was going to show off today is that a number of the service areas have categories that require specific information. So what we can do is we can look up a part of Hackney, we can raise a report. Let's say we stick it in this street over here. And if we pick car parking, never do a live demo. Car parking, thank you. And abandoned vehicles, it says, there's already some things in that area. Is it a new problem? Well, it is a new problem, so I'm going to continue to report a new problem. And what we've now got is these 4 optional fields that are prompted to make people fill in this specific information so that the contractors can find that specific vehicle. So what parking are particularly keen for us to do, and what I've set up today in FixMyStreet, is that when the issues are raised, they don't only get sent to an inbox in parking, but they also get sent directly to the inbox for the outsourced supplier, so they can work directly on the problem. And we want to provide them with as much information as possible. And there's a variety of categories that either want to have additional mandatory or optional information that you supply as part of the issue, or that have a particular piece of text that says, for example, if you're reporting an issue with a lamppost and it's because somebody smacked a car into it and there are exposed wires that are sparking all over the place, please don't just report it on FixMyStreet, please call the police. So there are some extra bits of text that we're going to put in appropriate places, but the documents that we've created with each of the service areas to have those agreements between us and them as to how we're going to work together are recording exactly the things that we want to put in here in terms of either mandatory data or extra information. And that's it for today, but I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has this afternoon.
David, I've got a quick question. I'm just wondering, because you mentioned that there's like some problems with the stakeholders just because they might want to delay your project for various reasons. Do you think like if we engaged with them a bit earlier and invited them along to the show and tells, there might have been a different kind of outcome?
Yep. The short answer to that is definitely yes. We had, during the course of the project, a lot of things that we knew we had to do. We had to do a bunch of technical setup. We had to do a lot of negotiating with MySociety about configuring stuff. We had to put together the initial list of categories, which Louise spent a lot of time working with the various service areas to put together an initial list. But what we did too late was start to have the detailed individual negotiations with the service areas, because it turns out having the list of categories that are going to be routed to them isn't in any way all of the things that we needed to talk about. And by the time we'd got a good list of all the topics that we need to cover and all the things we need to agree, we started speaking to them too late. And that's definitely true. So it's a learning experience that if you've got a large and complicated stakeholder management situation, and this project is 70% stakeholder management probably, then you should just start doing it earlier. And that's certainly an experience for me. And yeah, you're definitely right.
Could we get them invited to like the future show and tells? Because your show and tells are really good. So it's worth
it. I mean, I'm happy to. I'm happy to share the videos with them. I think what they really want to do is they really want their staff to feel comfortable with using the tool, which is why Louise has done the excellent training videos, which are going to go out today, and why we're going to offer them an option to have real-time training. So we'd actually sit down with them on a session like this and go through the product with people. So that's something that we're going to do over the next 2 weeks if they feel they need it, in addition to the training videos. Because really what we want them to do is to say that they're ready to use the tool. I think the folks that are having the pushback are ones that have been really impacted by the pandemic and are now only just starting to redo the kind of things that they would normally have been doing anyway. And in some cases, the issues that they need to deal with have piled up to such an extent while they've been not able to go out and do that work, that they're very focused on how we can reactivate our staff and how we can get through their backlog of existing work. And to have someone come along and say, here's an extra thing you've got to do, they're just trying to say, we don't think we can deal with that right now. Now, whether or not that's a reasonable thing to say, or whether or not we can encourage them to also do this at the same time by persuading them that it's not actually that much more work, that's conversations that are going to go on into next week. And I might talk to Matthew about some of them in particular.
Just picking up on that, and I think picking up on the question I asked via the chat, I think my question was around, if a service turns around and tells us that they absolutely cannot manage to be part of this right now, is there an option to take them off this and and just not include them? Absolutely.
So we can control everything on a specific category by category basis. There's nobody that said they don't want to be part of it. There are some people who've said we don't have any capacity to do it until first week of August, for example. So it's not like they're saying no, and it's not like they're saying Christmas. They're just saying we need a bit more time to get up to speed.
So I think my point is more around, we go ahead with the 6th of July, and if services really can't engage until the first week of August, then we add them at the first week of August, rather than delay the whole thing until they can engage.
We're absolutely not delaying. The question isn't do we delay, because that's definitely not happening. The question is whether the folks who've said that they need more time, do they need more time because they think the service is actually more complicated to use and more difficult to learn than it actually is? And can we persuade them to come in to the 6th of July? Or do we say, that's fine, we'll go ahead with the groups that are happy to proceed now and we'll bring you in later on? And I think we make that decision next week. Okay, has anybody else got any questions this afternoon? Lovely. All right, I'll put this on G+, stick it on YouTube. Thank you very much for your time. If there's anything else that comes up, there's one more. Kate just said she realised that she was nodding along and I couldn't see her. Yes, there's quite a lot of that goes on in show and tells. Cool. If you have any more questions, give me a shout in Slack. There's a channel for this. Drop it in there and I'll pick it up. All right. Thank you much, everybody.
Thank you.
Do I make it stop?